God, everyone's already in love with... Hey, everybody, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Holland, the finale. Thank God. Thank God. This has got to be one of the most disappointing seasons of Drag Race ever, and thank God it's over. But before we get to it, please remember to give my video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And thank you to the 7,483 of you that have. We are just over 2,500 subscribers away from hitting 10,000. Maybe by Christmas. Fingerdoo's crossed. Now, Jorge, drink me. Is this sink water again? Oh, Long Island iced tea. I should be used to this by now. Long Islandy. Yummo. All right, before we get started, full disclosure, I stopped caring about this season of Drag Race Holland 3 episodes ago. This franchise proved that integrity is not a thing, and they'll crown anyone as long as someone gets their wig styled for free. Allegedly. Also, I still haven't seen Vanessa Van Cartier on Maddie Rants because I just don't trust her. Her manipulation of the facts, aka knowing about Vivaldi's phone and then dropping the bomb when it served her the best, keeps me from being interested in her version of anything. Seriously. So, with that said, here's how the last episode of the most disappointing season of Drag Race Anywhere went down. At least the queens all seemed to be as shocked by last week's elimination as we were. I knew Puni would be, but Vivaldi and Vanessa seemed just as shocked. And in Vanessa's defense, I believe her because, let's just say it, she's not that good of an actress. Puni said what the world has been crying all week. She didn't expect Keta to get thrown out this far into the competition with 3 badges. No one did. Seriously. It certainly made Vivaldi's glee at them all making the finale even more disrespectful, I'm just saying. But still, there it was, Season 2's top 3, and I think we can all agree that there was only one clear choice for production to make to save face at this point. Puni. At least she had the wherewithal to not feel the celebrating. She was way too hurt and confused to share the 2 shadiest queens of the season's joy at what was, for her, a joyless moment. Puni's warning to Vanessa about seeing her on the runway spoke volumes, if you ask me. Seriously. The next day, instead of kicking things off in the workroom, we got a parade of the eliminated queens. Everyone looked good, and it was nice to see them all, but my heart still broke seeing Tabitha and Keta in that mix. In my opinion, they should have been in the finale with Puni. And then there was Fred, dressed like a blue maple moth. What was going on? Why were we starting this episode at the end? Was production so embarrassed by themselves that they were just going to forego the BS and get to the crowning? Because I was okay with that. On a side note, I don't know who's been doing Fred's wigs this year, but they really did do an excellent job. I just hope they don't show up on Season 3, if there is one. Seriously. And sitting at the judges' table were Marike Samalo, Robin van Dorst, and Carlo Bozard, who made me laugh when he said the winner of Season 2 was going to be the best one. I think what he meant to say was production hadn't told him yet. Joining them was last year's winner, Envy Peru. And after an awkwardly forced and scripted hello to the eliminated queens, we went back 2 days to see what the finalists had to do before this final runway. The queens entered the workroom wearing their correct sashes from the mismatch challenge. Puni seemed to be in a better spirit. She was still pining over Keta, but was focusing on keeping her head in the game as much for Keta as for herself, because good or bad, there was still a crown up for grabs. Seriously. Vanessa got emotional for some reason, again, but thank goodness Rue's video message interrupted that. And Fred wasn't far behind. Well, actually, he wasn't even in the room. Surprising the queens was Dutch YouTuber, model, and singer Famke Louise. She was there to give the queens their final challenge, to perform in a music video with Famke about celebrating life, and they had to write lyrics for their own verse. Needless to say, the queens were a little excited. and a little bit scared. Right away, the queens got to writing. Vanessa was having problems getting what she wanted to say on paper. Puni was being overwhelmed by the challenge and it being the finale, while Vivaldi just seemed to write her own name. Thankfully, Famke Louise dropped by to get them started on choreography and to send them one by one to be interviewed by Fred for the podcast. What podcast was that, you ask? Well, I have no idea, but editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan magazine Holland, Josephine, was there to co-host. Why, you ask? Well, the winner of Drag Race Holland would be featured in an 8-page spread and interview in an upcoming issue. These interviews went as one would expect. Vanessa talked about her struggles with her parents, particularly her father, about transitioning, but at least there seemed to be forgiveness and love at the end of it. Vivaldi talked about how hard it was to lose her father at 13 and how the competition has helped her get in touch with her emotions. I suspect having her young age constantly thrown up in her face had a lot to do with that. And Puni talked about her father's influence before his death and how she wanted to create something that's bigger than herself and means something to the community she is a part of. As much as I hate to admit it, if I were going to choose a winner based on those interviews and how their stories would impact the sales of an issue of a magazine, I'd have to pick Vanessa. Thank goodness that interview wasn't the only part of the challenge, is all I'm saying. Seriously. Choreography had a lot to do with it, so the queens were reunited with Gerald Von Wint. Vanessa had as much trouble learning the moves as she did acting. Vivaldi seemed pleased, but as for her choreography, Puni thought she looked wooden. Puni, on the other hand, seemed challenged by the choreography she was given, but her flexibility seemed to worry Vanessa and Vivaldi. Seriously. And then it was back to the main stage for the finalists' last runway. Category is Best Drag Look. Vivaldi was first, and all I can say is, I didn't like this. There was too much going on. My eyes didn't know where to land. I loved her wig, and the colors of her Dolly-inspired runway were gorgeous, but the structural elements of the outfit made the whole thing confusing to me. Even her makeup seemed a little muddy, so I had to give it a Fingerdoo. Then, right after her runway, she stood in front of the judges where Fred made her talk to her younger self. Hooray. The best thing about this for me was Vivaldi making fun of herself by telling little Tim not to cheat or bring a phone. Oh, how I laughed. So did the eliminated queens. Vanessa was next. Her best drag was interesting, a futuristic gold bald fantasy. She said it was a royal warrior look, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I hated her skirt. I wish she'd have done something different or at least used the same fabric as she did in the bodice because that skirt looked cheap, but still gave her a Fingerdoo. And then it was time for Vanessa to talk to her younger self. I will say this, Vanessa is the first queen to thank their younger self, and I have to say, it was touching. It even made some of the eliminated queens emotional. Here's to Vanessa. Finally, it was time for my little Puni. I didn't hate this look off the top, but I sure didn't love it. It looked like Puni was wearing a sleeping bag and not in a Utica queen kind of way. I would have liked it a bit more if the belt had been as structured as her corset and not just tied with offcuts. At least her wig and makeup were stunning. Still, I wish she'd taken the overcoat off to show us the outfit underneath because, from what I could see, it looked beautiful. But she didn't. I hate to say it, but I had to give Puni a Fingerdoo for this look, and I just hate myself for it. When Puni had to talk to her younger self, I thought her telling herself to tell her dad she loved him more was touching. Oi, Kleenex! Thank you. And then we got to see the video with Famke Louise. This video was okay. It wasn't great. I felt Vanessa's rap had too many words in it, including Vivaldi's name for some reason, but I can't deny she looked good. Puni did well. I still don't understand why she had Ketta's name in her lyrics. No, I'm sorry. I know why. I just thought it didn't make sense. As for Puni's look, it's the best she's shown us all season, I'm just saying. The thing I hated about Vivaldi's lyrics was her making more fun about cheating. I felt like she thinks if she makes enough jokes about it, it won't seem like such a big thing. Well, she's wrong. Seriously. Still, she looked good. As for the rest of the video, I thought the bits filmed in the club were gorgeous, but the bits of the queens solo and interacting with each other came off as cheap, like they were part of another video. A cheap video. A cheap, uninteresting video. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Actually, there were very few critiques this time. It was all mostly praise. At least that was the case for Puni. Everyone loved her. As for Vanessa, Carlo asked her about her choice to go down the runway without a wig, and Vanessa told the judges about her issues with her hair. It seemed to impress the judges even more. Thank God for Envy. She brought up the only negative, which was Vanessa's skirt, or more to the point, the fullness of it, but Vanessa assured her there was a surprise to come. So a reveal is what she's saying. Vivaldi got a lot of praise too, but once again, Envy had the only complaint, and that was that she hadn't painted her hands to match her face. Funny, I would have said her cheating was the bigger fault. Just me? I don't know why the judges deliberated, because after they all listened to themselves talk, Fred made a call to Ru via pre-recorded scripted video to help her decide who should win. Well, she didn't, big surprise. So Fred brought the queens back, but before the final lip sync, they brought Mama Queen out to crown Miss Congeniality. Surprise, surprise, it was Tabitha. One of the few good choices they've made this season, if you ask me. And then the attention was back on the final three because one of them was about to be eliminated. I thought for sure it was going to be Vivaldi, and I was right. As much as I enjoyed her drag, she cheated and really shouldn't have even been in the top three. So she sashayed away. An episode later than she should have, but still. So it was down to Vanessa and Puni for the final lip sync, and with a few kind words to each other, it was on. The song they lip synced to was This Is My Life by Shirley Bassey, which I love. I think that was another good choice for this season, I'm just saying. As for the lip sync itself, thank God they both ditched their cover-ups. In fact, Vanessa went one further and whipped out her boobs, I'm just saying. I thought they both did a great job. Vanessa seemed to have more emotion in her performance, though, so I thought the crown was going to go to her. And again, I was right. I don't know what held Puni back, but she's only been doing drag for 2 years, so obviously there's room to grow there as well. So, Vanessa Van Cartier is the winner of Drag Race Holland Season 2 and the second trans woman to win the crown in the franchise. Here's to Vanessa, seriously. What do you think? Did the right queen win? Are you still bitter about Keta? Should she have been there instead of Vivaldi? Or was she eliminated to make the path clear for Vanessa? And what about Puni? Did she do enough or was she robbed at the finish line? Let me know what you think down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And check out my links in the description box for ways to support me and my channel. Until next time, miss me! Mwah. Seriously. So many people were so upset with this season of Drag Race Holland, and it started so well. I think it was like the first 3 episodes that everyone was like, oh, they've redeemed themselves, this is good. I don't know, I've heard so many people say so many things about this season, and I've never heard more people say they either stopped watching it or didn't watch it at all. So Drag Race Holland has done nothing to redeem itself. Let's just cross our fingerdoos and hope that Drag Race UK is trouble-free, scandal-free, and full of fabulosity. And, well, I just hope Canada's Drag Race gives it a good old solid try this year. I'm just saying. Seriously.